This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the latest edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show, coming at you, as I love to do, every weekday over the airways of ESPN Radio, 250-plus markets across the United States of America, plus ESPN Radio on Sirius XM. Channel 80. Number to call up, as always, is 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. By the way, when a player doesn't like a contract, they hold out, right? Well, with Straight Talk Wireless, you never have to, because there is no contract. And they use the same exact 4G LTE towers as big carriers, but for a lot less. Straight Talk Wireless, only at Walmart. Refer to terms and conditions of service at straighttalk.com. Time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. We know what time it is. It's football. And you saw that there was 12 preseason games last night. And I ain't going to bring up what happened in Los Angeles because McVay didn't play any starters. He didn't play any starters. And if you didn't play any starters, that means you didn't see Peters and Khalid. That means you didn't see Ndamukong Suh. That means you didn't see Jared Goff or Todd Gurley. So we'll have to wait another week to dissect what we saw from the Los Angeles Rams. In the case of the New York Giants, it's an entirely different matter altogether. The number 1 versus the number 2 overall pick in the NFL draft, Baker Mayfield and Saquon Barkley showed up on the same field last night. The Cleveland Browns won the game. You can point to the putrid display that the Giants defense put on display. You can point to that. Others would prefer to look at Baker Mayfield, who completed 11 of 20 passes, threw a couple of touchdowns, no interceptions, scrambled out of the pocket and moved the chains a couple of times, looked ahead of the curve. You could also point to the fact that he was playing against reserves and third stringers, and that Tyrod Taylor, who's projected to be the starter, at least for the immediate future of the Cleveland Browns, completed all 5 of his passes and looked absolutely stellar. We can go that route. Or you can engage in hyperbole and you can sit up there and you can talk about how Baker Mayfield looked good. I prefer to say the Giants defense didn't. And then when we talk about Saquon Barkley, who's 5'11", 233 pounds, can squat about 400 pounds or lift about 400 to 500 pounds, and everybody's raving about this kid, who can be electrifying. I mean, if you listen to folks talk and you read the local papers in New York City, you think the second coming of Barry Sanders has arrived. Now, I'm here to tell you, we can't rule that out. Because the reality of the situation is when you saw Saquon Barkley scamper for 39 yards on his very first carry, and you see how he danced in traffic before getting loose and scampering through a hole that the Giants' offensive line created, which is a rarity, because we all know they ain't too capable of doing that. We got to give respect where respect is due. And I guess you could make the argument that while watching Saquon Barkley, you know something? Orleans Darkwa, former running back for the New York Giants. This is a guy that had 2 30-plus rushes last year, including a 75-yarder against the Washington Redskins. And those are the only 2 that the New York Giants had all of last season. So if you want to sit up there and say, all right, that's a reason to be excited and go berserk and all of this other stuff, go right ahead. I'm flowing with Eli Manning, the quarterback for the New York Giants, that said, let's calm down, ladies and gentlemen. Let's calm our brake. Let's pump our brakes. Let's calm down. Let's control our nerves. It's just a preseason game. It was just one carry. It was a good hole made for him by the Giants offensive line. Let's pump the brakes and relax. And for those of you who want to sit up there and criticize Eli Manning for taking that kind of attitude, my response to you would be, make up your damn mind. Is he somebody that's being a killjoy? That's tempering your enthusiasm and you don't like it? Or do you want to appreciate him for the 2-time Super Bowl champion that he is at age 37? Whose only missed start in the last 13 years came because of the idiot that was Ben McAdoo, the now former coach of the New York Giants, who deserved to be fired after last season's abysmal display for a coach. I'm here to tell you right now, I got no problems with Eli Manning's position. He's asking people to pump the brakes. He's asking them to calm their nerves, chill out, relax, and let's not lose perspectives. Let's not get so caught up in what we saw last night on one run from Saquon Barkley that we lose perspective. I don't see an issue with that whatsoever. I see no problem with that whatsoever. And what I would say to you is chill out. Follow Eli Manning's lead. Because Eli Manning has been there. He's done that. He understands the level of competition. And over the next 3 or 4 carries that Saquon Barkley had, he had a grand total of 4 yards. Now you got people sitting up there saying, is this guy going to be better than Ezekiel Elliott for the Dallas Cowboys? Are you crazy? I'm not trying to say that. Now he's a running back. It's not a quarterback's position. So obviously if you can run the football, you can run the football, and you want to give Saquon Barkley all the love in the world. No question. I'm not denying him that at all. But Ezekiel Elliott is a workhorse. He averaged 21 carries a game for the Dallas Cowboys his rookie year, when he rushed the football 320 times for 1,631 yards, if I remember correctly. Last year when he was suspended for those 6 games, the other 10 games he ran, he had 242 carries. That's an average of 24 carries. Is Saquon Barkley going to carry the football 21 and 24 times? I doubt it. Have there been questions about his ability to be that kind of workhorse? Yes, there have. As a result, do I think he's going to be the second coming of Ezekiel Elliott or better? No, I do not. Not as a runner. Now, if you're talking all-purpose, that's different. Because Saquon Barkley can pass block and pick up big blitzes, and Tom Coughlin would have loved him for that if Tom Coughlin was still a coach of the New York Giants instead of an executive VP in Jacksonville. But there's no reason to rehash that story. Then you have a situation as to whether or not he can pass catch. We know he can catch passes coming out of the backfield, and we expect that Eli Manning will utilize that, because when you have an Odell Beckham Jr. coming off an ankle surgery, a Sterling Shepard and an Evan Ingram, who are good young studs but still with a lot to prove, best believe, especially if the offensive line has improved, that the New York Giants are going to throw the football out of the backfield more to Saquon Barkley. We get it. We understand it. And I'm here to tell you right now, I think he's going to be just fine. 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. We can slice it any way we want to. But I think that the New York Giants, here's what you can definitively say about them. They won't come in last place. That'll probably be the Redskins. And then that way we can revisit Jay Gruden remaining the head coach of the Washington Redskins, when the only thing he seems to have done right in his 4 years in Washington is have the last name that he has. Because if you're a Gruden, boy, can you make things happen. I mean, the Oakland Raiders can't pay Khalil Mack. Barely even have been on the phone with him. But John Gruden, our former colleague here at ESPN, who we have profound respect for and appreciation for the work that he did while he was here, who's an incredible football mind and football lifer, still wasn't seen as a coach for the previous 10 years. And the last 6 years, he was a head coach in the NFL. After winning the Super Bowl in Tampa, he only made the playoffs twice and never won another playoff game. The same year he won a Super Bowl, which was 2003, is the last time we've seen him win a playoff game. Yet he gets $100 million. Yet he get a 10-year guaranteed $100 million contract. But Khalil Mack can't get his dollars. Something is wrong with the NFL. John Gruden is not proven, because he's been out of the game for a decade, and he's been out of the realm of successful football for the past 17 years. Damn near. Or at least 15, 16 years. Okay? So that is the situation. But he gets $100 million. But Khalil Mack can't get paid. Le'Veon Bell can't get paid. Odell Beckham Jr. can't get paid. Aaron Donald can't get paid. I don't know if y'all see something wrong with that picture, but I damn sure do. I damn sure do. And since the NFL wants to be so gung-ho about hard salary caps, why don't we have a cap for the coaches? I respect the hell out of John Gruden. I really do. And I think he's going to do a good job in Oakland. And I'm wishing him luck. I'm rooting for him. But why is he getting paid more than Bill Belichick? Why? Why is he getting paid more than Ron Rivera? Let me stick to just Super Bowl champions. Why is he getting paid more than Mike McCarthy? Why is he getting paid more than Mike Tomlin? Why is he getting paid more than Sean Payton? Why? Because Mark Davis wants to make a splash with Raider Nation before he leaves for Las Vegas like a thief in the night? That's why? I'm just asking these questions because I'm curious. I really am. He's getting paid more than anybody else as a coach in football, and Jay Gruden's getting paid still. I mean, can we call me Stephen A. Gruden? Hell, I might get a raise. Anything's possible. Anything's possible. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. That's just one item on my list. The other would be this situation that developed with Cam Newton and Kelvin Benjamin. Because as y'all know, Kelvin Benjamin, who was moved from the Carolina Panthers to the Buffalo Bills, had a few choice words alluding to Cam Newton and his inaccuracy as a quarterback last week. Well, prior to last night's game, a 28-23 victory for Carolina over Buffalo, Cam Newton saw him and walked right on the field to him. Had a discussion. And Kelvin Benjamin was walking away from him the whole bit. And they had some choice words, but Kelvin Benjamin certainly didn't articulate what transpired, talking about he's moving on. Well, I want to see him move on. 6'5", injury prone, questionable skills as a receiver based on his absence of production, wanted to point the finger at Cam Newton. Now, let me be very, very clear. Cam Newton has been in the league. He's entering his 8th year. He's only had 2 seasons in which he has thrown for 60% or better completions of his passes. I recognize the fact that Cam Newton ain't the most accurate quarterback in the world, even though he's a former league MVP. I understand that. I truly do. But I also want to add, you don't do what Kelvin Benjamin did. You don't call out your quarterback like that. If you A.J. McCarron or Josh Allen in Buffalo, how are you feeling about throwing the football to Kelvin Benjamin? I mean, he's clearly going to pass the buck, right? So those are the kind of things that I think it's important to think about. I think it's important to say. Because the reality of the situation is this. When you look at Cam Newton, he was right to approach Kelvin Benjamin. Because you know that wasn't about the nuances of route running and anything pertaining to football. It was about, why would you go and call me out in public like that? Why would you disrespect me like that? What's that about? Because there are things that he could have said about Kelvin Benjamin, and he didn't do it. So all I'm saying is he was absolutely right to approach Kelvin Benjamin. It's a damn shame. I mean, this ain't Antonio Brown or Julio Jones we're talking about here. Kelvin Benjamin missed an entire season due to an ACL tear. In his 3 full seasons of playing football, statistically, he's diminished in numbers every year, but that's not his fault. Even though he's looked too big, too slow, at times out of shape, that's not his fault. Even though he seemed incapable of gaining separation from opposing corners, that's not his fault. I just don't know. I really, really don't. It's going to be real interesting to see how things transpire. It really, really is. 888, say ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. Now, you know what the big elephant in the room is, right? You know what happened this morning. Because last night, several National Football League players felt the need to continue their protest. And when they decided to do that, and Malcolm Jenkins for the Philadelphia Eagles case raising a fist, and other players like Kenny Stills and others for the Dolphins, they took a knee. Well, when that happened, evidently the president was asleep at the time because he woke up this morning and decided to send out this tweet. Quote, "The NFL players are at it again, taking a knee when they should be standing proudly for the national anthem. Numerous players from different teams wanted to show their outrage at something that most of them are unable to define. They make a fortune doing what they love." This is what Trump tweeted from his Bedminster Golf Club on Friday morning, the 9th day of his vacation. That's what he said. Here's the deal. Couple of things. First, on the president. He also alluded to they get paid so much money, and most of, the revenue goes to the players. First of all, the Players Association, I think, would beg to differ with that notion, that the players get most of the money. A matter of fact, we're pretty certain that's not true, number one. Number two, it's interesting that the president had something to say about this, but he didn't have something to say about Jerry Jones when Jerry Jones stood with his hand not on his heart and with his hat on, which is not proper decorum for when the national anthem is playing. Having said all of that, ladies and gentlemen, I think a point in time has arrived where we might have to concede president might be right. The president might be right. Because at some point in time, we got to ask ourselves, what are these protests accomplishing now? See, if you're Kenny Stills for the Dolphins and you take the position that he took, look, Colin Kaepernick still doesn't have a job. Then I'm down with that. Because when Chase Daniel, a backup quarterback in Denver, used to be in Chicago, who has one career start on his resume, has thrown one career touchdown on his resume, but he's been paid over $24 million already in his NFL career, and Colin Kaepernick still doesn't have a job, there's a problem. There's a damn problem. There's no way around that. So we understand that there's an issue. But just kneeling and protesting and exacerbating the ire that already has been fomenting on the part of patrons of the National Football League, stirred on by the president, no doubt, who successfully hijacked the issue and changed it into something that it was not about. It was never about the national anthem and patriotism. It was always about racial injustices and police brutality. But the president has changed that narrative. And no matter how many times they kneel, no matter how many times they raise a fist, no matter how many times they try to protest and fight, the reality is that the president has won the issue. He has successfully hijacked the issue. So to me, when you protest during the national anthem, you're just feeding him and feeding those who already have negative views about these NFL players. You're not accomplishing what you set out to accomplish. At some point in time, like Kenny Rogers, the famed country singer, said, you got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them, know when to walk away, know when to run. You got to know. You just got to know. The reality of the situation is clear. The protests are not accomplishing the things that they set out to accomplish. And Colin Kaepernick is still without a job. That is a fact. You can martyr him all you want to. But what you got to do is make sure, A, he wants a job again, B, he can still perform the duty at hand, and 3, this is a fight he supports. Because I got to admit to you, I'm pretty damn disturbed watching all of these protests take place, Colin Kaepernick's name continuing to be brought up, but we haven't seen nor heard a damn word from him. I don't know about anybody else, but I'm getting tired of that. He might be somewhere in the islands chilling, not giving a damn about this very issue. Everybody wants to point to him to bestow credit on him for. I'm not saying that's the case. I'm saying I don't know. I haven't seen nor heard anything from him at all. And it might be that he simply does not care anymore. And if he doesn't care, I'm talking specifically about the whole taking of the knee issue, then why should these NFL players? Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know whether this is true or not, but I think I saw a CNN report talking about how during the national anthem, Michael Bennett, former Seattle Seahawk, now Philadelphia Eagle, walked out during the national anthem. I don't know the story behind it. I don't know if that was a form of protest on his part or he had to run to the bathroom or something. I have no clue, but I will say this. Any player who does that, you walk out while the national anthem is playing and that's your protest, now you are being disrespectful. Now you are being disrespectful. And I don't think that's something that should be supported. But again, I don't know if that's what he was doing. I have no clue. I'm saying if that were the case, that's not something that should be supported. 888-SAY-ESPN. That is the number to call into the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio.
Craving even more of Stephen A?
Him of all people.
For around-the-clock access to the man?
I'm Stephen A.
You can follow him on Twitter and Instagram at Stephen A. Smith and on Facebook at Stephen A.
Ow. Yep, you guessed it. I'm a speed bump, so I've got one job. I slow you down. So imagine how I feel about Geico, who does way more. Like, not only could they save you money on car insurance, but they've been around for over 75 years, giving people fast and friendly claim service. Ow. Plus, they got a nifty mobile app that gives you 24/7 access. Ow. Just doing my job, buddy.
Geico. Expect great savings and a whole lot more.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Let me make sure I clarify and specify what I was saying about Michael Bennett, according to reports from the Philadelphia Daily News today. In Philadelphia, Eagles defensive end Michael Bennett walked out of the tunnel onto the field Thursday during the anthem. He didn't walk off. He walked onto the field during the anthem and headed to the team bench ahead of a game against the visiting Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, the rules stipulate you're supposed to stay in the locker room till the anthem's done, or if you were to come out there during the anthem, you're supposed to stand and show respect, blah, 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 blah. He did neither. He came out during the anthem while it was playing. So you know you're going to hear complaints about that, too. I guess that's a statement. 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. Again, when a player doesn't like a contract, they hold out, right? Well, with Straight Talk Wireless, you never have a chance to because there is no contract. And they use the exact same 4G LTE towers as the big carriers, but for a lot less. Straight Talk Wireless, only at Walmart. Refer to terms and conditions of service at straighttalk.com. Before I get to the phones, a couple of other things I wanted to get into. You remember Andrew Luck showed up last night, threw a few passes, completed like 6 or 9 passes. He was very giddy. Why? Because he wasn't hurt. And with Andrew Luck, you don't really have anything to be concerned about so long as he's healthy. He's got T.Y. Hilton as a target. It's got a couple of other cats to utilize as targets as well. We'll see how that works out. I still think they need their running game improved. I think they need their offensive line buffered. This kid Quentin Nelson out of Notre Dame is really, really supposed to be the best of the bunch, and he definitely is going to help buffer that offensive line of the Indianapolis Colts, and we get that. To me, Andrew Luck is a future Hall of Famer so long as he's healthy. I believe in him that much. I think he's got the athleticism, the physicality, the knowledge, the know-how. I think Andrew Luck is going to be special as long as that right shoulder is okay. That's why he was excited when he got hit by it and still got up with no problem, wasn't hurt. And then you look at their schedule. Jacksonville Jaguars, they play November 11th after a bye week. That's what they got to deal with. Guess what, ladies and gentlemen? There's no elite defense per se that the Indianapolis Colts have to deal with before then. And I think that's what people have to recognize about the Colts here. I mean, if you really, really look at this schedule, what do you have to worry about? If you really look at this schedule, what do you have to worry about? Because I got news for you. The Indianapolis Colts, they're going to be they might have a chance to do some things. We'll see what happens. But with Andrew Luck behind center, anything's possible. And I'm looking at their schedule right now, and let's look at it. Let's analyze the schedule right here. They open up at home against Cincinnati. That's a win. Then they got road games at Washington and at Philadelphia. Philadelphia is the reigning Super Bowl champion, so obviously they're going to be formidable. Washington will be decent, but it's not like they're Jacksonville's defense. Then you got Houston. That's a home game against Houston. J.J. Watt's going to be back, so we hope he's healthy thus far. Let's hope it stays that way. We wish him nothing but the best. But you've got Deshaun Watson. He'll be back. You got DeAndre Hopkins. Des Bryant, to me, that's where he should end up in Houston. He shouldn't be thinking about going to Cleveland, but you never know. Then they got road games at New England and at the Jets. Then they got Buffalo and then a game at Oakland. Look, it's not like Andrew Luck is going up against Jacksonville. There aren't too many elite defenses that he's going to face just now. And when you look at the depth of their roster, I mean, listen, T.Y. Hilton is a familiar target. Ryan Grant can play a little bit. You got Doyle and Ebron at your tight end spots, your dual tight end, your double tight end spots. I don't know about Marlon Mack. We shall see. Everything falls on Luck. And the AFC South is no joke. Tennessee was a playoff team. Jacksonville was in the AFC Championship game. And Houston will have Deshaun Watson back. So it's going to get very, very interesting. But in terms of an elite defense, what's he really going against? So it's going to be real interesting to see what happens with Andrew Luck. But it was good to see him out there again. I can't wait to see more from Jimmy Garoppolo. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, I know Jimmy Garoppolo can play. Good looks, nice arm, reads defense as well, quick release, athletic, has some wheels on him. I've heard it all. I've heard it all about this guy. But 7 starts, albeit undefeated in those 7 starts. $137.5 million. $72 million guaranteed. Jimmy Garoppolo is chilling. But guess what, ladies and gentlemen? The jury's still out. Because now that there's going to be more tape on this guy, I want to see what he's going to do. I'm not sold yet. I'm not saying he's not going to do it. Obviously, he knows what he's doing. And I believe John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan know what they're doing. And they wouldn't have given him the money if they didn't see enough from him. Their football minds, they know. But I got to tell you something. I still need to see more from him. And in the process of while still needing to see more from him, let me say this. I'm not going to go Carlton on Bill Belichick, who I respect and revere as a great football mind and a great football coach. But I don't know when I'll ever get over him electing to bench Malcolm Butler for that Super Bowl. I mean, this guy plays 97.8% of snaps as a cornerback for you throughout the regular season. 100% of the snaps against Tennessee and Jacksonville in the AFC playoffs, and you bench him for the Super Bowl. Talking about you trying to give your guys the best chance to win. That is nonsense. That is nonsense. It was damn near a fireable offense. And I think you see in a lot of players and a lot of people look at Bill Belichick differently because he made that call. Don't tell me that was about football. I don't believe it, not for 1 second. That's one thing to point out. Here's the other. I'm not going to go so far as to say the great Bill Belichick should be fired. But as we have learned, it was clearly a better deal that was offered to Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots from the Cleveland Browns for Jimmy Garoppolo. He gave Jimmy Garoppolo away, a man he believed to be the quintessential heir apparent to Tom Brady, who he didn't want to let go of. Bill Belichick allowed the 49ers to get Jimmy Garoppolo for basically nothing, which was a second-round pick. I know everybody wants to place such value on it. Jimmy Garoppolo is worth a hell of a lot more than a second-round pick. And to give him away for that, what you drafted him for, essentially, is ridiculous. Bill Belichick looked out for the kid according to the reports. You know, after each win, he'd get a text from Bill Belichick congratulating him. So you're watching Jimmy Garoppolo play. You're watching him perform. You're rooting him on. Fine, fair enough, because you cultivate relationships with people you've once coached. There's no crime in that. We understand. Jimmy Garoppolo was there for years, and obviously you wanted to make sure that he knows you're rooting for him. I understand that. But damn it, you could have got more for him from Cleveland. They wouldn't have had to draft Baker Mayfield. They wouldn't have to be wondering whether some rookie out of Oklahoma is going to be their savior. It could have been Jimmy Garoppolo. And you're New England and you gave him away for nothing and turned away a better deal from Cleveland to do it. You had a good relationship with Mike Shanahan, former two-time Super Bowl championship coach with the Denver Broncos, who coached for years in Washington with RG3 and the crew, who drafted Kirk Cousins. He's your buddy. He's your friend. So his son is the head coach in San Francisco, and you hooked up the son at the expense of the Patriots. But nepotism doesn't exist, huh, y'all? You see what I'm saying? See the stuff folk get away with sometimes? 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. Back with your calls in a minute. You're listening live to Stephen A. on ESPN Radio.
Guess what?
You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it.
Kansas City Chiefs, never fear. I'm keeping my eyes on you guys, too. I saw Patrick Mahomes last night. Completed 5 of 7 passes for 33 yards on 2 possessions in a 17-10 loss to the Texans. Stuck to short passes. First drive lasted just 4 plays before ending with a punt. Feared no better than the second chance, stepping into a sack and overthrowing Travis Kelce, my brother, Travis Kelce, in another possession that resulted in a punt. They've been raving and raving and raving about Patrick Mahomes. I can't wait to see what he does. Welcome back to Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio, which is presented by Progressive Insurance. With more than 30 unique coverage options available, Progressive knows small business. Learn more at progressivecommercial.com. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. Let's get to the phones. Let's go to, let me see. Need to go to my man, JJ. You're live with Stephen A. Talk to me.
Yes, sir. You and I have spoken several times over the past several months. I love your show. We might have disagreeing views, but we always respect each other.
Yes, sir.
I think we got to do something collectively as players and owners in the NFL to get this right, because we look really bad on this protest stuff. I agree they have a right to protest and speak their minds. I'm a disabled prior veteran, and so I don't like it, but I agree that they have the right. Is there any way that we can come together? Because after a while, the owner's going to have to make a stand and say, you know what, this is affecting our bottom line, and we got to make a change.
But here's the problem, JJ. It's not affecting their bottom line. Revenue was up 4.9%. Each owner got a check for $255 million. And so the notion that it was changing, that it was affecting their bottom line has not been proven. And as long as that's the case, the best argument you could make is that to the protesters per se, the effect that you wanted to have it's fallen on deaf ears because the NFL is still thriving. All you're doing is annoying people and it isn't changing anything. That's what they could say. Or, you know what they could do? Want me to tell you what I think the NFL could do? I think the NFL could bring Colin Kaepernick back into the league. Bring Colin Kaepernick back into the league and get back to playing football.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I agree. I think if you did that, it would go a long way. It'd go a long way. Because, listen, you want to protest, you try to ignore them or whatever, the rules are the rules, and you move on from there. And let Colin Kaepernick go out there, and guess what? You might be getting booed or whatever the case may be, but you got to go out there and perform. And if you play like garbage, how you going to look? Think about that.
I agree. I give him the shot, give him the opportunity. And if he doesn't put up, then he's done. Then he holds no weight whatsoever.
There you go. Appreciate the call, man. Thank you so much for your call and thank you for your service. Darryl, you're live with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. What's up, man?
Hey, Stephen A. How you doing today?
I'm all right. You only got a minute and a half. Go ahead, buddy.
Oh, dude. I need some help understanding this whole protest thing. I hate to say this, but I absolutely agree with Trump on this deal. And I don't understand how any red-blooded American can think that kneeling for the national anthem is acceptable behavior. I cannot wrap my head around.
Let me stop you right there. Number one, most protests don't involve quote unquote acceptable behavior. That's number one. Number two, here's where the president is wrong. It's because he's made it an issue of patriotism, as opposed to if he sat up there and literally addressed the players' concerns and he agreed or disagreed with that, then you know what? We wouldn't be in a position to say something because he's just expressing his opinion. But what you have to make sure that doesn't happen, Darryl, is that you don't allow the narrative to be changed. Now, you can sit up there and say, I want to watch my football. I don't want to have to deal with X, Y, and Z. And that's fair on your part. But the president does not have a right to lie about the position the players are taking. He doesn't have a right to sit up there and say they're protesting against the flag and they're non-patriotic, as opposed to saying they're very patriotic and they're exercising their right as American citizens and they're trying to bring attention to injustices and brutality on the part of some law enforcement officials. If you address that directly, then whatever position you take, nobody's in a position to disagree with you. But when you want to change the narrative, that's where the problem lies.
Well, I respectfully disagree with you, and here's why.
Hold on, Darryl, do me a favor. I have a hard break. I'm going to come back in hour number 2 after a guest. I'll take your call then because I don't want to cut your point off and diminish your argument. So do me a favor and call back, and I'll bring you right back on. Hour number 2 up next with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. Damien Woody up next.
That's just a sample of what you'll hear on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A. Welcome to hour number 2 of the Stephen A. Smith Show, here with you right here on ESPN Radio. Every weekday, as I love to be. ESPN Radio. Also ESPN Radio on Sirius XM Channel 80. Number to call up as always is 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. By the way, don't miss Mark Wahlberg in Mile 22, only in theaters August 17th. From Peter Berg, the director of Lone Survivor, comes the last great thrill ride of the summer. It's 22 miles of pulse-pounding, breathless, nonstop action. Mile 22, rated R. See in IMAX and premium large format August 17th. On the line with us right now, as promised, is our resident NFL analyst extraordinaire. You see him on First Take, getting beat up sometimes during the NFL season, but he's my big brother. He's my big little brother. The one and only Damien Woody is on the line with us right now. What's going on, man? How are you?
Man, I don't know what you're talking about. There's no scholars over here talking about getting beat up. What's
man, you better watch your mouth. You better be respectful. You better be respectful. You better be respectful. I'm trying to tell you right now, you better be respectful. Don't make me beat you down, bro.
Okay, all right. I see your move right there. I like it.
I can talk junk over the line, right? I can talk junk over the line.
That's right.
Damien Woody right here with Stephen A., my brother. First of all, We had some preseason games last night, 12 to be exact. Obviously everybody was talking about Saquon Barkley going up against Baker Mayfield. Tell me what you peeled from both guys off of last night's performance and how enthused are you about this season coming up?
Well, first of all, I always, you don't tell when it comes to preseason, pump the brakes, it's the preseason. We get all of that. But from the sampling that we got last night, I mean, those guys look like they're worth it, the number 1 and number 2 pick overall. I mean, you talk about Saquon Barkley, my 233-pound running back, this dude was making people miss in the hole. I mean, some of the jump cut teammates like Barry Sanders out there, the acceleration. If you're the Giants, that's exactly what you need from the running back position, because they haven't had a running back like this, I mean, in a long, long time. And you put him with Odell Beckham and Sterling Shepard and the England kid at tight end, man, that's firepower on offense. That's exactly what the Giants need. And listen, with Baker Mayfield, Stephen A., that boy looked good last night. That boy looked really good last night. And Tyrod Taylor looked good as well. Don't get me wrong. But from what I saw from Baker Mayfield, you're talking about a guy, he showed his arm talent. He showed accuracy. And I think the most impressive thing was he showed awareness in the pocket. When the pocket was collapsing and guys were on his feet, a lot of young quarterbacks, man, they get nervous, and the first thing they want to do is run. No, this dude was just moving in the pocket like Tom Brady back there and just surveying the field. That's advanced stuff for a rookie, okay? That's advanced. And if this dude keeps progressing,
hey, Damien, I'm going to interrupt you just for a second because we could barely hear you. You sound like you're in the tunnel or something. I got to get you on a better line. I'll get back to you in just a minute or so because I got a lot of stuff that I want to talk to you about, all right? Damien Woody right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. We're going to try to get him on a better line because the audio quality where he is, it's pretty low, so we're trying to get him on a landline so we can hear him more clearly. And I heard what he was saying about, listen, Baker Mayfield did look composed. Baker Mayfield did look like a guy that belonged on the NFL roster, that belonged in the NFL, that was worthy of being the number 1 overall pick. There is no doubt about that, ladies and gentlemen. But the flip side to it is that he was playing against second and third unit individuals. It was against the New York Giants defense, whose first unit ain't that great, by the way, based off of what we saw last year. So there's a lot to be desired. The jury is still out, not to mention the fact that you got to take certain things into consideration. Josh Gordon ain't going to necessarily be available because you know what? His issues per se. I'm trying to be nice here. His issues, with drugs and what have you is not something that he has fully overcome. The belief is that he's still working towards eradicating that stuff from his life. And that he's been on a clear path to do just that. He's improved immensely or whatever. But for some unforeseen reason, he voluntarily told the Cleveland Browns he was not going to be available and he was not going to be somebody whose services was going to be available to the Cleveland Browns come opening day, clearly during the preseason and training camp, obviously, as well. So if you're Baker Mayfield, what do you have to work with? You got a Jarvis Landry, but what else do you have? There's some serious questions as to what you have to work with, and that's why I'm not a proponent of him just being thrusted into the Lions' den starting from week 1. Tyrod Taylor completed all 5 of his passes. He looked good, and as a result of that, you don't want to rush somebody like a Baker Mayfield. The other side to this is that Saquon Barkley. Now, what makes Saquon Barkley special is that those 233 pounds. You see his speed. You see his evasiveness. You see his skill set. You also know that he can pass block. You also know that he can pass catch. And so when you look at him being the triple threat that he is, and it's something that Eli Manning and the New York Giants have never had at their disposal, then you say to yourself, okay, this could end up being something that works. Let me know, guys, if Damien Woody is back on the line, if he's there, because I'd love to get back to him. 888-SAY-ESPN, that's 888-729-3776. So you got the Saquon Barkley, you got the Baker Mayfield situation. I brought up Patrick Mahomes because guess what? The way everybody's been talking about him, you got to remember, the Kansas City Chiefs traded Alex Smith to the Washington Redskins. They didn't mind letting Alex Smith go because Patrick Mahomes is considered to be this young stud chomping at the bit for his chance at the title, his chance to be that dude for Andy Reid and the Kansas City Chiefs. And if you look at Kareem Hunt, if you look at Travis Kelce and all of these boys, Tyreek Hill and these boys, Kansas City is no joke. If their quarterback is that gunslinger they think he is, special things can happen for them. That's why I brought up Mahomes. Because it's going to be real interesting to see. I don't have a lot of faith in the Los Angeles Rams. We'll see what happens with the Oakland Raiders. Damien Woody, are you back, my brother?
I'm back.
There you go.
Better.
You sound great. So I heard your points about Baker Mayfield, and you talked about he looked like the real deal. You talked about Saquon Barkley and what have you. Paint a picture for me for the NFC East and what you see unfolding in that, because I got people telling me they think Saquon Barkley could end up being better than Ezekiel Elliott. And if that's the truth, we don't know what to expect from the Giants, but none of it is bad. What are your thoughts about that NFC East picture, particularly after watching Saquon Barkley?
Well, listen, I think the NFC East is going to be a dogfight this year, Stephen A. I mean, listen, you got the Philadelphia Eagles, who most people think is the favorites in that division. You got the New York Giants. You add Saquon Barkley to the mix with, to go along with Odell Beckham Jr. and Evan Ingram and Sterling Shepard. They got a formidable offensive attack. So the Giants are going to bounce back. The Dallas Cowboys probably have maybe the best offensive line in football, and Zeke is going to be playing all 16 games this year. And then the Washington Redskins, I think they upgraded at the quarterback position with Alex Smith. I think they got better there. Yes. I believe Alex Smith is a better quarterback than Kirk Cousins. That's why I think this NFC East is going to be a dogfight this year, man. So I don't know about Saquon Barkley being better than Ezekiel Elliott, because that offensive line that the Dallas Cowboys have, they got some dogs on that offensive line. But I know one thing, the way they're going to deploy him as far as running the ball and putting him out, out in the passing game in the backfield, he's going to be tough. He's going to be a tough cover for a lot of teams this year.
Who's the team to beat in the NFC in your estimation?
In the NFC as a whole?
Yes.
Oof, wow. Man, I'm going to go – I think the New Orleans Saints are going to be tough this year, man. I do. I think the New Orleans Saints, Drew Brees at the quarterback position, man, I mean, you're talking about one of the all-time greats. That draft class they had last year, man, that's one of the best draft classes people have seen in a long time. They're only going to get better. Defensively, they're going to be a lot better. They lost on a fluke play to Minnesota. So,
very much very big
that
fluke.
That was a fluke play against Minnesota. So, I mean, we could be talking about New Orleans and Philly playing to go to Super Bowl against the Patriots. So I think New Orleans is going to be right there in the mix. But Steve, now man, that NFC conference is so tough. You got the Packers. We know you love the Packers with Aaron Rodgers.
That's right.
You got the
him,
Atlanta Falcons.
Just Rodgers, not the Packers. But go ahead.
Okay, yeah, but when you got that bad man Aaron Rodgers, he's going to be in the mix every year. We know that. Okay, you got the Atlanta Falcons are going to be a lot better this year. Okay, I mean, the Minnesota Vikings, the NFC is stacked this year, but I think New Orleans is going to be that team.
Let me tell you why I got some questions about New Orleans, all right? Because obviously you got the three teams in their division. You've got Carolina, you got Atlanta, you got Tampa, even though I think Tampa will be 2 wins for them, okay? But here's the deal. Outside of playing Atlanta twice and Carolina twice, right, in your division, they've got the Giants on their schedule. They've got Baltimore on their schedule, road game at the Giants, road game at Baltimore, road game at Minnesota, a home game against the Rams, all right? You got Philadelphia on your schedule, your road game against Dallas, and you got Pittsburgh on your schedule if you're New Orleans. Those are 7 games outside of the division. I think there could be a little bit of trouble for them.
Listen, but the whole NFC is stacked. Everybody's playing tough teams anyway. And listen, if I'm betting money, I'm betting money on Drew Brees. Drew Brees is one of the all-time greats, one of the GOATs in our game. And like I said, the defense has gotten a lot better. They got weapons all over the place offensively. This team is going to be in it in the end. So I like New Orleans, but that NFC South with Carolina and the Atlanta Falcons, man, they could.
Top three teams in the NFC in my mind are Philadelphia, New Orleans, and the Los Angeles Rams. Not necessarily in that order. You agree or disagree with that?
Ooh, I might have to throw the Minnesota Vikings in there.
Well, they got Kirk Cousins, and you just finished saying Alex Smith is better than Kirk Cousins.
I know, but listen, they got to the NFC Championship game without Kirk Cousins. They got the NFC Championship game without Kirk Cousins. You look up and down their roster is stacked. Their defense is one of the best defenses in the league. They got Dalvin Cook coming back at running back this year.
Yes, they do.
Okay, they got Thielen. They got Thielen. They got two-headed monsters at wide receiver. Kyle Rudolph at tight end. Listen, I said Alex Smith. I said what I said. Alex Smith to me is a better quarterback, but even still, Kirk Cousins in there. They're going to be right in the mix to get in the Super Bowl as well.
So you think you think Kirk Cousins is better than Case Keenum? Is that correct?
Yeah, come on, Stephen A. I mean, you don't wait a minute. If you don't sit here and try me on the radio and try to say that Case Keenum is better than Kirk Cousins. I hope you're not doing that right now.
I'm just double checking because you spoke so disrespectfully about Kirk Cousins compared to Alex Smith that I wanted to make sure you didn't feel that way about him versus Case Keenum.
Okay, because I was going to tell you, man, you better put some respect on my name right now because I know you want to try me on the radio like that.
I will decide whether respect comes to your name. You don't bully me on my show. Damien Woody right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. Let's get to the issues of the protest last night. We know that's making news because several guys, with everything that transpired this offseason and what have you, they just reminded everybody they're not going anywhere, that these protests are still going to exist. Malcolm Jenkins raising the fist. Few Miami Dolphins, including Kenny Stills, taking a knee. Michael Bennett coming out, walking out during the national anthem, according to the Philadelphia Daily News, while the national anthem was being played. And, of course, the president responded with his own tweet this morning, which I'm sure you saw. What are your thoughts about all of this?
Well, Stephen, I said it from the beginning. Okay, the NFL dropped the ball on this whole thing because they responded when President Trump was tweeting about this stuff. The NFL, being the league that they are, became reactionary. Then they dropped it, they instilled this, they tried to put out this policy. And what did it do? It just reignited everything. Because if you look at last season, at the end of last season, honestly, there was only a few guys that was really taking a knee. The thing was dying down, okay? If the league had just kept working with the players and the players' union and the players' coalition, this thing probably could have been over. But the league keeps feeding into these tweets and stuff with Donald Trump, and it's not doing them any good. And I think what you saw last night is reactionary from what's been going on this offseason. That's where we're at.
So with that being said, where do you think they should go with the protest from here?
Well, listen, there's only so many times you can take a knee before you got to start. Okay, let's start advancing the cause. And we've seen Malcolm Jenkins, we've seen Chris Long, we've seen a lot of guys that's been working with, state legislatures and Congress and a lot of different people as far as advancing causes in criminal justice reform. That's what needs to continue to happen. These guys need to continue to work in their communities to try to build this thing up. And a lot of guys are doing that. But as far as, continuing to take a knee, at some point we got to, we got to move past that. Okay, we have to move past that in order to just get some normalcy back in football, and guys can continue to do the things that they're doing in their communities.
Damien Woody right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. Getting back to the football field, let's transition to the AFC for a quick second. I brought up Patrick Mahomes to the Kansas City Chiefs because obviously by letting go of Alex Smith, you got a whole bunch of people high on this guy thinking that he might be the answer to their prayers at the quarterback position. I'm also looking at the AFC West. You got the Los Angeles Chargers up in there. You got John Gruden, the $100 million man with the Oakland Raiders up in there. They give him $100 million, but they ain't got enough money for Khalil Mack. Go figure. And I'm just looking at all of that now and wondering what's your assessment of the AFC looking forward?
Well, listen, I'm on the L.A. Chargers bandwagon. I think this is the year for the Chargers. Really? They got to start out fast. It seems like every year they start off behind the eight ball, whether it's injuries or poor play, and then they have to end up catching up. I think this is the year they finally get off on the right foot. So I think that the LA Chargers going to win the AFC West. But listen, it's
you
still
think
the Patriots world.
You think the LA Chargers going to win the AFC West over Oakland and Kansas City?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Do you have a problem with that?
I don't know, but I mean,
do you have a problem with that?
You mean the Chargers that made the playoffs one time in the last 8 years? Those
I don't care. I don't care about any of that. I don't care about any of that. The Chargers, when you look at the Chargers,
like
they're going to have one of the best defenses in the National Football League. They got 2 bookend pass rushers. Their secondary is one of the best. They added a dog back there in Derwin James from Florida State. On offense, they got weapons on offense. They got Melvin Gordon in the backfield and Phillip Rivers pulling the trigger. You mean to tell me that can't win the AFC West this year? Come on now.
I like Anthony Lynn a lot. I really, really do. And I get it with Bosa and Ingram on the ends getting at the pass rusher. I get all of that. And I do like this kid Derwin James out of Florida State. I like him a lot. Let's see what he does. He's probably going to start. He's just a rookie, but he's that legit. I get it. But the flip side to it, Keenan Allen, who can ball, but Terrell Williams. I mean, I'm just saying to myself that along with Hunter as your tight end spot. I don't know, man. I don't know. And let me tell you something right now, too. You want me to tell you what I saw, regardless of whatever numbers that you want to say this man put up last year, because it was 4,500 yards, 28 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions that Phillip Rivers put up. He doesn't. Like the way he used to fling the ball, I don't see that anymore. It just looks the release looks a little bit slower. The ball flutters and floats just a little bit extra. I just don't know, Damien. I just don't know.
Stephen A., listen to me. I'm telling you, Phillip Rivers still got plenty in this game, still got plenty in the tank. Okay? I would go to battle with Phillip Rivers any day. And again, he has the complementary pieces around him to win the AFC West. When you look at the teams in that division, okay, with the Kansas City Chiefs, major question marks on defense. Their defense was Achilles' heel last year. They're breaking in a new quarterback. I'm a big Patrick Mahomes fan, but he still doesn't have the experience, so it's going to be a learning curve. You look at what's going on in Oakland. Oakland's like Benjamin Button. They aging backwards. John Gruden getting all these 30-plus-year-old guys on the team. That's no way to build a team. So I'm still kind of questioning what they got going on over there. And then with the Denver Broncos, they got Case Keenum at the quarterback position. They finally got a little bit of stability, but I don't know if they're ready to win the AFC West. When I look at the AFC West, to me, the team to beat this year is the Los Angeles Chargers, and I'm betting on it.
Who are you picking to win the AFC South, especially now that Andrew Luck seems healthy?
Man, listen. If Deshaun Watson, if those boys stay healthy, I'm picking Houston.
Oh.
Wait.
I mean, a second-year player. You sound like one. I'm giving it to you. You sound like one of these damn fans from Houston. Deshaun Watson's a bad boy. Deshaun Watson's a bad boy. Okay, no doubt about it. He's special, no doubt about it. DeAndre Hopkins can play his butt off as well. But I mean, how many weapons do they have? How much confidence do you have in Bill O'Brien? J.J. Watt, we're hoping that he can stay healthy and he's gonna finally be back. God bless him, and we're just rooting for him. But I mean, listen. Are you sure about Houston, particularly with Jacksonville in the same division?
Man, listen. I'm not knocking Jacksonville. Jacksonville is one of the top teams in the league this year. They're young. They got a taste of it last year, so they're going to be in it all the way to the end.
I actually think you're being a little bit disrespectful to Jacksonville. Personally.
No, I'm not being disrespectful to Jacksonville. I'm going to give Jacksonville all the praise in the world. Mm-hmm. But do you understand when Deshaun Watson was playing last year in those 7 games, they led the league in scoring? Did you understand that?
I do
His
understand.
rookie year, in 7 games, that man was basically the face of the league. They were leading the league in scoring. Okay, this man come back in his 2nd year. He's going to be a lot better again, like I said from jump. If he's healthy, Houston, I think, will win the AFC South.
Let me tell you how you just lied to the public.
I'm getting ready to tell you.
I'm getting ready to tell you. You just throw out that blanket statistic thinking you're going to get away with that. You do understand that one game, I mean, they did beat Tennessee 57-14. It's not like it was a consistent 40, 50 point. I mean, they dropped 57 or the Texans dropped 57 on the Tennessee Titans. They beat them 57-14 October 1st. And then they lost the next week, even though they scored 34 points against Kansas City. They gave up 42, but they did score 34 points that game. I'm just saying, listen, their offense was definitely potent. There's no doubt about that. But you really, really think that's normal? The 33 they scored in the loss against New England, the 57 they scored in the win against Tennessee, the 34 they scored in the loss to Kansas City, the 33, against Cleveland. Who couldn't score against Cleveland last year? I mean, come on now.
Stephen, I'm trying to tell you, anyone who watched those games, who watched the game
I did.
Against the New England Patriots up there, who watched the game when they played up in Seattle, like, all you got to do, if you watch the game and you listen to what them boys said after those games, they all, to a man, they all said, that boy Deshaun Watson is the truth.
He is the truth.
He is the truth. And I'm trying to tell you right now, if the Houston Texans defense is healthy, if J.J. Watt is healthy, Jadeveon Clowney, Whitley, Merciless, all them boys are healthy, you don't think they have a chance to win the AFC South?
I think they have a chance, but you just speaking with a little doubt. I just think you did being disrespectful to Jacksonville.
No, I'm not
Jacksonville
being
is no joke.
I'm not being disrespectful.
Okay.
I'm just telling you how I see it as a 2-time Super Bowl champion. That's what I'm doing.
Well, you watch your mouth. You ain't have to bring up the Super Bowl championship ring. That's my job. It's my job to point out the fact that you're a 2-time Super Bowl champion. Don't try to throw that in my face.
Sometimes I got to remind you. Sometimes I got to remind you just to let you know.
All right, I appreciate that. And by the way, I noticed how you didn't say anything about John Gruden. You cool with what you're seeing him do in Oakland?
Man, listen, man. You pay John Gruden $100 million. You can't pay Khalil Mack. What's going on with that? What's going on with that, man? I got problems. Listen, I don't know what Khalil Mack is asking for, but here's what I do know. This man was a former Defensive Player of the Year. This man made All-Pro at 2 different positions. That boy, as I like to quote you, that boy is a bad man.
He is
a bad man.
Yes, he is. Well, listen, you got something right because you echoed my point. Very, very good. You're learning, big boy. You're learning, man. I appreciate you, man. Thanks a lot for coming on the show, man. We'll wrap before the season begins.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
All right, my man. The one and only Damien Woody right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. 2-time Super Bowl champion, Damien Woody. Let's not forget that. I mean, he had to remind me. Not that I didn't remember because he is a 2-time Super Bowl champion. Those rings don't come by very, very easily. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. Thanks again to the great Damien Woody for coming on the show, hollering with us about this NFL preseason action. You're listening live to Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. Your calls and more up next.
Craving even more of Stephen A?
Him of all people.
For around-the-clock access to the man?
I'm Stephen A.
You can follow him on Twitter and Instagram at Stephen A. Smith and on Facebook at Stephen A.
Allie's mom knew she had a strong kick even back in the womb. And from then on, Allie was always kicking a ball and saying she was going to play pro soccer. And one day, while she was kicking a ball against a wall, her skills drew even more attention. Her boss said, "Could you please stop that and get me those quarterly numbers I asked for?" Turns out Allie just wasn't that good at soccer. But she was a good accountant. That's why she switched to Geico. She knew they could save her a bunch of money on car insurance. And she sure wasn't ever going to make that pro soccer money. No, sir.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Let's get back to the phones. Let's go to Daryl. You're live with Stephen A. Go ahead, Daryl.
Hey, Stephen.
Yeah, go ahead, buddy.
Yeah, like we were saying before,
yes,
I disagree with you on several points about the national anthem protest.
Please go ahead.
I coming from a long line of veterans, being a veteran myself, you know, my oldest son just got back from his 3rd tour in Afghanistan.
Okay, please tell your son. Please tell your son that we said thank you for his service as well. Please.
Sure. Okay. But when you protest the national anthem, it is about patriotism. I don't care how you wrap it up. At least for me.
Stop right there, sir. Stop right there, Daryl. Respectfully, I retort with this response. The operative words were, at least for you. Because even on this show, there have been plenty of soldiers who have called up, both white and black and beyond, and have said, while they wouldn't do it, while they disagree with it, A, we fight for the right for American citizens to do exactly what the protesters are doing, A, and B, we don't confuse the narrative. If they said that that was their intent and that's what they're doing, that's how we take it. We don't turn it into something that they were not protesting. Soldiers have called right up here on this show, veterans, and have said exactly that. So your own contemporaries, Daryl, some of them disagree with you.
No, and I'm sure, hey, that's what the world's about.
Okay.
But let me give you another example real quick.
Yes, sir.
I work for a major construction company. I'm a construction manager. And although it doesn't happen often, it does happen from time to time, especially with environmentally sensitive projects. When we go to start a new project, we get a lot of protesters.
Okay.
Now, if I wear my company uniform on my company time, go across the street and join those protesters, what is my boss going to do to me?
Well, let me ask you, let me respond to that with a simple question. Is it already on the books as it pertains to your job where the bosses prohibit you from doing that?
That's a fair question. I can't
because let me be very clear to you, Daryl. First of all, once again, thank you for your service. Secondly, and more importantly, I appreciate your perspective. And I don't blame you for having it. You're entitled to it. I'm not talking to you as if you're wrong, sir. I'm giving you I'm giving you a different perspective that I would like for you to consider. If your bosses stipulated that you couldn't do something and you signed on a dotted line contractually to abide by those stipulations and then violated it, they would have a case. But if there is no such rule in place, and to your knowledge, there was nothing that you were doing that was violating their rules, then that would be a different argument because you would have the right to do it. See, in the National Basketball Association, the reason why you don't see that, Daryl, is because it was never on the books. I'm sorry, it was always on the books that you had to stand for the national anthem. If you were a basketball player, if you were a player with Major League Baseball, the NFL, which was one of the leagues taking money from the Defense Department to engage with what our senator out of Arizona, a Republican senator by the name of John McCain, stigmatized as paid patriotism. The NFL was taking money from the Defense Department to market and promote patriotism, but didn't feel the need to implement and incorporate into their bylaws that you had to stand for the national anthem. So whose fault is that, Daryl?
Yeah, you got a point.
And that's all I'm saying.
Let me ask you this, Stephen.
Sure, real quick.
What is your opinion on the national anthem?
My opinion is that if it were me, I would never have knelt for the national anthem. I'm standing for the national anthem. Now, you could talk to about the extra verses within the national anthem that has racial connotations and all that stuff, and I get that, and I would address that. But for me personally, with the military men that have served in my family and how I suspect they would have taken it, not to mention the fact that, again, I'm a proud black man. And I'm black before I'm anything, but I'm also a proud American citizen. And for me personally, I would have found different ways to protest rather than kneeling for the national anthem. I would not do that. But I understand that Colin Kaepernick didn't do wrong by electing to do it. You see what I'm saying?
No, I understand.
Okay.
I understand.
All right. Daryl, I've got to run, but thank you. And do me a favor, feel free to call back to the show anytime, buddy. I'm thankful to have you on. Thank you so much. Let's go to Rob. You're live with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. Talk to me, man.
Stephen A., my man, how you doing?
I'm good, bro. Talk to me.
So last night I was thrilled to see Saquon's first touch, 39 yards. I want the Stephen A. hot take on what you think of this revamped Giants offensive line. What you
Not
think
sure.
Saquon and some realistic expectations of where the Giants' season could end up this year.
Here's the deal. Listen, let me tell you something right now. I think it all comes down to that offensive line. I really believe that. I think it all comes down to the offensive line. I'm not worried about Eli Manning that much. I'm really not. I'm not worried, even though he's 37 years of age, even though he hasn't looked stellar. He certainly didn't look that way last year. I am not an individual that is down on Eli Manning. I love the fact if Odell Beckham Jr. comes back and he's ready to go, and I'm not sure that's going to be the case, but if he comes back and he's ready to go once he gets hit, and Sterling Shepard steps his game up, and Evan Ingram, shows up, okay? And with Saquon Barkley and the triple threat that he is in terms of pass catching, pass blocking, and obviously running the football, I'm high on the Giants. If your offensive line shows up, you grab Nate Solder, right? You drafted this kid, Will Hernandez, all right, who's supposed to be rough and rugged, all right? But there's still a question for Eric Flowers, who's moving over to right tackle. We know how much he's been maligned because of how impotent he's been. And when you look at it from that perspective, the fact that he's still in your offensive line, plus you've got a rookie in Hernandez. I mean, the only person that we can trust really on the offensive line is Solder, who came from New England. That's about it, Rob. That's my concern.
What's your thoughts on this guy, Omame, from the Jaguars?
I don't know. One preseason game, I haven't seen enough from him. And I didn't pay that much attention to him in Jacksonville, but I will say this to you. Bottom line is, he was blocking for Leonard Fournette. He was blocking for Blake Bortles. They didn't seem to do a bad job. I think they've got promise. I think there's clearly been an upgrade with the offensive line. I'm just not sure how much of an upgrade it has been, which is why I'm still holding out.
What's the record? What's the final record? Then I'll let you go.
Right now, I think the Giants are the third best team in the NFC East. I would say an 8-8 record. I'd say an 8-8 record, 9-7 at best. They don't make the playoffs because the Eagles and the Dallas Cowboys are better than them right now. That's my projection. But they ain't coming in last place. I think that's going to be the Redskins.
Hey, thanks for taking the call,
Thank
Stephen.
you. 888, say ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. And every time people bring up the NFC, they keep talking about Philadelphia. They've asked about the Giants. They brought up New Orleans and Minnesota. The Los Angeles Rams, somebody better recognize. With Peters and Aqib Talib in that secondary, if Aaron Donald elects to come back and join Ndamukong Suh on that line, I got news for you. Rams might be the team to beat in the NFC. I'm just saying. Your calls to close out the show in a minute. You're listening live to Stephen A. on ESPN Radio.
Guess what?
You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it!
Reminding you that as of this Monday, August 13th, the Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio will officially be televised, simulcast, live on ESPN News. So as of this Monday, you not only can hear me over the radio waves, 250 plus markets across the United States of America on AM/FM signals. Not only can you hear me on Sirius XM channel 80 ESPN Radio, but you can also see my radio show while I'm doing it live on the ESPN News channel, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 10 a.m. Pacific, live on ESPN News, officially Monday. This Monday, August 13th. Back to the phones we go before we can get on out of here real quick. Let's go to Austin. You're live with Stephen A. Real quick, Austin, go.
Hey, Stephen A., long-time listener. Mad respect for you, man.
Thank you.
But real quick, you said that, you're a patriot and you support, African-Americans, and you wouldn't use that to protest during the national anthem. Why do you think it is that Dak's getting so much backlash for, saying what he has said?
Because he's echoing his sentiments directly after Jerry Jones said what he said, and we hadn't heard from Dak Prescott on the issue at all throughout last season. So it was the fact that you're echoing what Jerry Jones says after Jerry Jones took his public position. You come across as a puppet as opposed to your own man. I'm not saying that about Dak myself. I don't feel that way at all about him. But I do think that there are people looking to excoriate him, and that is the reason why.
Gotcha. Now, do you think if he were to say that before Jerry Jones said that,
wouldn't have been no problem. Wouldn't have been no problems. I mean, you're going to have naysayers like I have naysayers, but overall it would not have been any problem. Not at all. Because you're your own man and you're saying that as opposed to echoing what Jerry Jones said right after he said it. That's the difference.
Gotcha. Well, thanks, Stephen A. Have a good weekend.
You do the same, buddy. Thank you so much. Let's go to Garrett. You're live with Stephen A. real quick.
Stephen A. What's going on, man?
I'm good.
Got a question for you. So my buddy's a diehard Raiders fan, and to shut him up yesterday, I made a bet with him. I said that my New York Football Giants will have a better record than the Oakland Raiders this year. What are your thoughts?
Ooh, that's a tough one. 'Cause he's in the AFC West and you're in the NFC East. I don't know about that one, bro. I don't know about that one. I really don't. But I will say,
football,
you know what?
You know what? Wager on the line.
Garrett, are you ready for this? You might win that one. You might win that one. Because I don't know how good the Raiders are going to be this year. Amari Cooper was dropping passes last year. Crabtree is going. I don't know what Martavis Bryant is going to do for them. Okay. I don't know what Beast Mode is going to do for them. I don't know what Derek Carr is going to do for them. And we don't know what their defense is going to be without Khalil Mack, which John Gruden himself said wasn't good with them. So the Raiders do have more questions. Even though the Giants have some questions, basically it comes down to their offensive line. If their offensive line shows up, then the Giants will be better than the Raiders. All right? I got to run, man. Garrett, I appreciate the call. Thank y'all so much. Listen, I got to get on out of here. I hope y'all enjoy a wonderful, wonderful weekend. By the way, Cleveland had a lot of nerves trolling LeBron James. You should bow at the altar of LeBron James and be respectful. He's a Laker now. I love that. Y'all enjoy y'all weekend. I'll see you Monday and talk to you as well. Stephen A. signing off. Peace and love.
That's just a sample of what you'll hear on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.